All right, listeners, buckle up because today we are diving deep into a book that has, well, absolutely exploded in
Hmm.
fantasy romance circles. Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses.
It really has, hasn't it? It's everywhere.
Totally. So, whether you're already caught up in the Fey realms or maybe just curious about what makes this series such a powerhouse, we're going beyond just the plot summary.
Right. We want to unpack the why.
Exactly. The underlying magic that hooks millions and, kind of sets a new benchmark for the genre.
Hmm.
Our mission today is to pull out the really essential insights. We're talking plot, core themes, Maz's signature style, and of course the characters that make this story resonate so deeply.
And what's really intriguing, I think, is how a story that starts with these like familiar fairy tale bits.
Yeah, the Beauty and the Beast echoes.
Exactly. How it can morph into something much darker, way more original, and really lay such an ambitious foundation for the whole series.
So it's not just a retelling.
Not at all. And by sort of dissecting a comprehensive review, we're giving you the full picture fast, getting right to the heart of why this book grabs you from page one, even if it starts kind of simply.
Okay, so let's jump right into that foundational story then, because that's where the unexpected journey kicks off.
It really does.
We meet Fair Archeron. She's a mortal huntress, and her life is just this grueling fight for survival, basically focused only on feeding her impoverished family.
Super grim beginning, yeah.
And one cold day, she kills a wolf in the woods. This brutal, kind of desperate act isn't just a plot point. It's the thing that rips her from her normal life.
The inciting incident.
Right, and plunges her headfirst into the terrifying but also, alluring world of the Fae.
Yeah, alluring is a good word for it. Dangerous, but tempting.
Imagine, one minute you're hunting for dinner, the next you're a prisoner, taken to the magical spring court, this realm ruled by the ancient, powerful High Fae.
And that visceral shift, it immediately sets up the stakes and that dark fairy tale tone that just hooks you. It cleverly blends those classic Beauty and the Beast elements, the captive girl, the magic castle, the brooding master.
Tamlin.
Tamlin, yeah. But it mixes it with original fantasy lore that just keeps escalating. Feyre quickly gets tangled up in the court's dark secrets, its politics, the tensions.
And that curse.
Oh yeah, the deadly ancient curse threatening all of Prythian, which is, this vast land divided into 7 different Fey courts, each run by a High Lord or Lady.
And all this is happening while she's feeling drawn to the mysterious High Lord of the Spring Court, Tamlin.
Right, that connection builds amidst all the danger.
Okay, but beyond the, dazzling Fey courts and the escalating dangers, ACOTAR really digs into what true love and freedom cost.
This is where it gets really good, I think.
Yeah, because this is where the story shines, going way beyond simple romance.
Well?
Let's talk love and sacrifice first.
Okay.
Feyre starts out driven by this raw, almost primal love for her family, just keeping them alive.
Survival mode.
But when she's thrust into the Fey world, this love really morphs. It's not just about feeding mouths anymore. It's about sacrificing her own freedom for people she barely knows.
And later for a whole world that initially imprisoned her.
Exactly. It's this profound look at love as the ultimate catalyst for self-sacrifice, kind of redefining what family even means.
Absolutely. And it's not just romantic love either. I'd argue it also deeply explores freedom versus duty.
Oh, definitely. Tell me more about that.
Well, Feyre's constantly battling what's expected of her versus her own fierce desire for, self-determination. But it's not just her.
Right, the Fae too.
Yeah, the High Fae themselves are super burdened by these ancient curses, societal expectations. They're trapped by their own power and immortality in a way.
Huh. Never quite thought of it like that.
It raises big questions about power, choice, responsibility for everyone involved.
Yeah.
And there's prejudice and perception.
Ah, yes, the human-Fae divide.
Centuries of violence mean mortals and basically fear and despise each other. But as Feyre lives among them, her perspective starts shifting.
Which challenges those ingrained assumptions.
Totally. It suggests, our fear of the unknown is often way off base.
What's fascinating is how all these themes kind of build towards transformation.
Yes, that's a huge one.
You see it not just in Feyre's personal growth, obviously, but in the whole world she's in. It's a journey fueled by love, pain, and just incredible personal development.
Pushing characters and the world itself into new, often really unexpected forms.
It's a central theme.
This theme of transformation is absolutely key, and Maas shows it literally and metaphorically all through the story. It leads to this powerful, like, game-changing shift for Feyre by the end of the book. It's not just a character arc, it's kind of a world arc starting.
But what really brings this world to life, what makes those emotions practically uh, pour off the page, like you said?
Yeah.
It's Maas's signature writing style. She writes with this incredibly lush, almost like suffocatingly descriptive prose sometimes,
Very atmospheric.
creating an atmosphere that really prioritizes raw emotional intensity and that romantic tension. It feels less about complex plot mechanics sometimes.
And more about immersing you in Feyre's head, her visceral experiences. Yeah, I see that.
That's a fair point. Her cinematic descriptions, the vivid imagery, they're a huge draw if you love those sweeping, dramatic moments. But yeah, it's true. The early pacing can feel a bit slow, almost like she prioritizes setting up that deep emotional connection to the whole aesthetic.
Before the plot really kicks into high gear.
Right. It's a steady build, but it does pick up significantly in the second half. It shifts from that romantic intrigue to really urgent, high-stakes action.
And the tone itself is often called darkly whimsical.
Ooh, I like that. Darkly whimsical.
Yeah, it's this clever blend of fairy tale nostalgia, but with much more mature adult themes woven in.
Okay, a world this rich needs compelling people in it. Let's meet the cast, the characters driving this whole thing, starting with Feyre.
Right, Feyre. She's gritty, she's determined, a true heroine who somehow balances incredible strength with this raw vulnerability.
Her emotional journey is pretty compelling.
Oh, absolutely. Watching her adapt from pure survival mode to something much more complex and powerful is really the core of the book.
Then there's Tamlin, the aloof but protective High Fae Lord.
He perfectly fits that brooding romantic archetype, right?
He does.
Though, gotta say, some readers find him a bit underdeveloped compared to characters who show up later. Almost like a deliberate setup, maybe.
Interesting. What about Lucien?
Ah, Lucien, Tamlin's snarky emissary. He brings some much-needed humor and actually surprising complexity.
He's a fan favorite, I hear.
Often is, yeah. For his sharp sarcasm, but also his, like, unwavering loyalty, even if it's grudging sometimes.
And we have to mention Rysand.
Can't forget Rysand. He shows up late in the book. His appearance is brief.
But memorable.
Very. Even then, he hints at much deeper layers. And, well, without spoilers, he becomes incredibly central and pivotal later on. You'll definitely remember him.
Okay, so who is this deep dive really for? Who's gonna most enjoy A Court of Thorns and Roses?
Good question.
We're talking fans of romantic fantasy, for sure, and definitely people who love fairy tale retellings, especially if Beauty and the Beast is, like, your jam. Also, readers who really enjoy a slow burn romance, the kind with the big emotional payoff where the journey matters just as much as the destination.
To add to that, it's perfect if you love lush, magical worlds with all that court intrigue, ancient curses hanging over everything.
Okay, that whole atmosphere.
Yeah. And it's also a really excellent bridge, I think, for YA readers moving into new adult fantasy. The content leans more mature than typical YA.
But still has that sense of wonder and epic scope.
Exactly. It's a good stepping stone.
So the verdict, RV Review, gives A Court of Thorns and Roses a strong 8 out of 10.
Solid score.
The prose are definitely compelling. You have powerful emotional arc for Feyre, that rich immersive setting that just pulls you right in.
Memorable characters, too. Morally complex ones who really evolve.
And that satisfying blend of high fantasy and passionate romance, it delivers on that.
However, there are a few, let's say, nuances to consider. Some cons.
Okay, let's hear them.
Well, that initial pace can feel a little slow for some people. And the world building, while immersive, can be a touch vague early on. You kind of have to piece things together.
Okay.
You might also find some romantic tropes feel a little predictable at first, but honestly, this often feels like a clever setup for subverting them later.
Oh, so it pays off.
It often does. And while the main characters are strong, some secondary characters could maybe be a bit more developed in this first book. But it's important to say, this does get much better in the sequels.
Good to know.
Overall, though, it's a seductive entry into this high fantasy world packed with love, danger, transformation. While it starts like a familiar fairy tale retelling, it really does evolve. It gets darker, more original, especially in the later chapters.
Laying a really strong foundation for what becomes an even more ambitious series.
Undeniably strong foundation.
Yeah. And there you have it. We've journeyed through the intricate world of A Court of Thorns and Roses, sort of highlighted its unique blend of familiar fairy tale charm and that sophisticated fantasy depth. hopefully helping understand what makes it such a phenomenon.
And here's where it gets really interesting, right? Because the source material we looked at explicitly suggests this book, while strong on its own, it's only the beginning. It even says the real wild ride begins in book 2, which, raises a really important question for you, the listener.
What's that?
What makes a first book, even one that might have some, initial flaws like pacing or whatever, what makes it so compelling that it leaves you desperately needing to dive into the sequels for that promised wild ride?
Instead of just being a satisfying standalone story.
Exactly. What's that hook that makes you commit to the whole journey? Something to think about.